comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I'm DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, it's all about the 2022 New York Comic-Con exclusive Funko Pop reveals, which, let me tell you, there was a lot of Funko Pops announced for New York Comic-Con this year, and there was a lot of fire, which we will be talking about on this podcast today. So without further ado, without wasting any more time, we will get into talking about those New York Comic-Con exclusive reveals, which we're going to actually divide this into 6 different categories since all the pops were announced in one day, so we can't divide into the day reveals. So we have it in 6 different categories, which we might as well kick off with the first category, which is more of the miscellaneous category, with some of these not fitting into the other categories. So kicking off for that miscellaneous category, we got ourselves Borat, which is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Notorious B.I.G. with gold suit and fedora for the Rocks lineup, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. For Star Wars, we have ourselves Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones, which is going to be shared with Amazon in both Canada and the US. And B2EMO from Andor, which is going to be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. Guy from Free Guy, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Kayla from Jurassic World Dominion, which is going to be shared with Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. From Harry Potter, we got ourselves Harry Potter with the Sword of Gryffindor and the Basilisk Fang, which is going to be shared with Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada, along with Neville Longbottom with Pixies, which is going to be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. And last but not least, for this miscellaneous section, we have a Stranger Things and Dungeons & Dragons crossover set of a 2-pack of the Vecna Pops from both of the said licensors, which will be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. So kicking off with Borat, which obviously I will say this joke on how there's only 2 words to describe this, and that is very nice. When I first seen the glam shot for this, or at least part of it, I seen it in a little sneak peek where it shows like a notification of someone posting it. And it was from Funko News Canada. And at first I thought maybe it was just another version of Yev Kasim, possibly for Seinfeld, because you can kind of see in part of the face, it kind of looks like Yev in a way. So I thought, okay, it's just another Seinfeld pop. But then I seen it was Borat. I'm like, all right, this is sweet. I'm loving this. So I'm glad that a Borat pop is finally being released, especially as a Comic-Con exclusive. We have Notorious B.I.G. with the gold suit, and this is okay. I mean, this is better than a lot of Notorious B.I.G. pops, I find, but I feel like there are some that are better than this. But I don't know, I was kind of a little, not really let down, but bored of this announcement because we've had so many Notorious B.I.G. pops. Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones. This is a great Funko Pop. I can't believe that we actually have a Padawan Anakin Skywalker. I love the detail with the short hair and obviously the braid going down the side there. He's holding the 2 lightsabers, which would be his and Obi-Wan's, because I believe this would be involved in the scene with him against Count Dooku when it's just them 2. And I don't think I've been as excited for a Star Wars Comic-Con announcement in such a long time than I am with this one. We got B2EMO for the upcoming Disney Plus series Andor, which, I mean, the series will be released by the time that the pop will release for New York Comic-Con. And this looks pretty sweet. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be like maybe like a main droid, kind of like R2-D2 or C-3PO for this Andor series, but I'm interested to see what this droid is all about. We got Guy from Free Guy, and this is one of those announcements where I didn't think Funko was going to make a pop for Free Guy, and it looks awesome. And I feel like with this version of Guy, I feel like they shouldn't make another Guy pop, because if you've obviously seen Free Guy, this character wears the exact same outfit pretty much every day. I feel there's not going to be a better Guy pop unless it's some sort of moment, but I think it's going to be a pretty big seller because it's something very unexpected. Kayla from Jurassic World Dominion, and I mean, this is okay. I feel with a lineup like Jurassic World Dominion or even Jurassic Park in general, I feel like the dinosaurs are going to be the big sellers because of how much detail is put into them. And obviously, that's kind of like the focal point of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. We got both of the Harry Potter pops, starting off with Harry Potter. And I think this is okay. I felt like this would have been better involved with the scene, obviously, as the Basilisk Fang and Harry stabs the diary of Tom Riddle with the Basilisk Fang. So if they would have made a deluxe moments there where like he's stabbing the diary and there's some blood pouring there, I think it would have been better instead of having kind of like a half and half where you have a new pop with the Basilisk Fang, but then an old pop because we've seen Harry Potter with the Sword of Gryffindor before in Funko Pop form, maybe even twice already. I know for sure once, but they might have made it twice. And then we have Neville Longbottom with the Pixies, and I think this is great. We don't get that many Neville pops, and especially with this funny moment for Chamber of Secrets, since this year will be the 20th anniversary for the Chamber of Secrets movie. And then last but not least, we have ourselves the Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons crossover. And I mean, I'm a little mixed opinion about this. I do understand why they did this because obviously in Stranger Things, a lot of things are based off of Dungeons and Dragons. And obviously there is the character of Vecna in Dungeons and Dragons and the character of Vecna in Stranger Things. But I find that it's very similar for both pops as of like being very close to looking like the original ones that were made as terms to the common ones, or in the Vecna for Dungeons and Dragons case, I believe it was the GameStop exclusive. It wasn't a common. I mean, with the Vecna from Stranger Things, it's literally just a difference in hand positioning, I noticed, to make it different from the common ones or like the exclusive for the 4-pack or 3-pack, whatever it was. And then for Vecna for Dungeons and Dragons, I do like it because I believe there wasn't that cool green base added to the original one, and the posing is, I believe, much different than what the original one was. But I guess the downside is that obviously there's no D20 dice to go along with it. And just like normally for Comic-Con exclusives, when we normally talk about them day by day, I will say for each section what my least favorite and my favorite is. My least favorite probably has to be the Vecna 2-pack, but my favorite reveal, I'm probably gonna have to say Borat.
Okay, does anyone hear that smoke detector? Because there is a fire alert incoming. Wow. Okay, so starting off with the Borat, crazy. This is awesome. I don't know how I haven't thought of why don't we have a Borat pop yet, because it's such an awesome movie that most people do like, though it is very offensive. I feel like the general audience really does love this movie. So we finally have a Borat pop, and it's perfect, not gonna lie. I mean, there's nothing more you can ask from a first Borat pop when you look at this pop. Very nice, great success, Funko. Then we have the gold attire Biggie Smalls. This is okay. I don't mind the pop, but I feel like there's an abundance of Biggie Smalls Funko Pops now, especially with there being 2 different pop albums. There's just a lot of Notorious B.I.G. stuff now for Funko, and I think they can hold back, and doing, especially with New York Comic Con, where there usually is a lot of fire pops that get announced, a different BIG, I just don't see this selling super well. And then we have episode 2 Anakin, and this pop is sweet. I mean, this is awesome. Though Attack of the Clones is probably one of the worst Star Wars movies in a lot of people's opinions, the character designs are really, really great, especially with Anakin. This pop looks great. I mean, it's perfect for Anakin. I love how they gave him both of the lightsabers, and this is definitely going to be a huge seller. And then we have the droid from Andor, and this is okay. There's actually quite a bit of detail in here. I'm very excited for Andor, and I definitely will be watching the first 3 episodes when they do get released. So I want to see more about this droid before I decide if this is a pop that I need to actually add to my collection. And then we have Guy from Free Guy, and this is a pretty surprising announcement. I loved this movie a lot. I felt like the movie was done great. Just such a different story when you look at a character who's actually an NPC. He starts developing his own feelings and stuff. Just such a great movie. And I think they did a pretty decent job on the pop, where you have obviously the damage on his face, as well as having the glasses in his hands, which I think is a big part of the movie itself. So that's a great detail for such a simplistic human pop. And then we have the pop from Jurassic World, and this is a pretty decent looking pop. I don't know if I think this should be a con exclusive, but when you look at it, Jurassic World / Jurassic Park, the whole franchise in its own, doesn't really get a ton of con pops. So I don't mind it. And there has been a ton of Jurassic World Dominion announcements. There was a huge wave that we got with all those different dinosaurs. So I guess it is good that there is at least one con exclusive, though I think it probably should have been a dinosaur rather than a human character. And then we have the 2 Harry Potter pops. These are both pretty cool. We'll start off with the Harry. This is okay. I think it makes sense to be a con pop because it might not sell as well if it was just a common or maybe exclusive to a place like Barnes and Noble or something like that. So being a con pop is fine in my opinion. And then we have Neville Longbottom, and this pop is sweet. Everyone generally loves Neville. He's a great character, and I think that this is going to sell better than the Harry, which is pretty surprising because Harry Potter pops obviously sell very, very well. And I mean, this pop's great. The pixies that are lifting him up by his ears, so cool. I do remember this scene. And then lastly, for this section, we have the Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons mashup. And as you guys know, I love Stranger Things. I also love Dungeons and Dragons, but this 2-pack sucks. This is just not good. There's multiple reasons. One, we first got the Dungeons and Dragons Vecna, which was a sweet pop, and I still don't have it, so I do need to add that to my collection. And then we got to see the Vecna for the newest Stranger Things wave that we got, which, if you guys haven't heard my opinion on that, I don't really like this pop at all. Vecna is an awesome character, and I could see why it might be hard to translate it into Funko Pop form, but I don't know. There's something going on with this pop that I don't like. And then you hit them both in a 2-pack with just a little bit of a change with the hand positioning, basically. It's not good, but I still have to add it to my collection. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Funko. So, looking at these 9 pops that we just talked about, my least favorite has to be Biggie Smalls. And my favorite has to be Borat. I mean, it's the perfect pop. It's exactly what a Borat pop should be, especially if we are only ever going to see one.
All right, so this next section of New York Comic Con exclusives is pretty much right up the realm of MD Shady. Ad icons, and retro toys, which kicking off, we have ourselves new pops of Polly Pigeon with a red and blue jersey and the Pizza Rat, which both will be shared with Reed Pop in the US only. The Polaroid land camera, which is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. A Rubik's Cube, which is going to be shared with Books A Million in the US and Indigo here in Canada. A Kaboom cereal clown for the Ad Icons lineup, which is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US only. Sergeant Slaughter for the G.I. Joe lineup, which is going to be shared with GameStop in the US and in Canada. And last but not least, we have Mikey as Yellow Ranger and Raphael as Red Ranger for the TMNT Power Rangers crossover set, which both of these will be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. So kicking off with the Polly Pigeon and Pizza Rat pops, these are okay. I mean, the thing I do like about Polly Pigeon, though, is the fact that that is pretty dang close to the prediction I made for the video, where it is close to New York Rangers colors. This is the 3rd year, I believe, in a row we have gotten Pizza Rat and Polly Pigeon pops, so I'm kind of getting, a little sick of these pops, but nonetheless, I mean, these are okay. The Polaroid land camera, originally when I seen this pop, I thought, okay, this is a retro toy, until after filming some of the videos we had done this week and then seeing on the Funko app of the box, this is actually part of the Ad Icons lineup, which is a little bit surprising. The Rubik's Cube, I actually do like this. I think this is pretty sweet, especially how they position the eyes and the mouth on it. A lot of people are hoping that somehow when you take this pop out of box, you're actually able to like twist the top and the bottom, like if it was a Rubik's Cube. But I highly doubt that's going to be the case. But nonetheless, I still think the idea of like it not being a complete cube and that some of the pieces are starting to shift like the way that you should twist a Rubik's Cube to get the colors right. I think that's a great attention to detail. I love the different color legs and the 2 different color shoes. The Kaboom cereal clown, pretty sweet. I mean, we got the Funko soda for FunCon last year. We now have the Funko Pop now. So if you missed out on the soda, you can get the pop. And I mean, I'd rather see this than, let's say, and I mean, MD might be mad when I say this, but another McNugget pop for the McDonald's lineup. Sergeant Slaughter for the G.I. Joe lineup. This is sick. I know that there's a lot of G.I. Joe pops, but the fact that they did Sergeant Slaughter, I didn't even think was like possibility, because I know that Sergeant Slaughter, being a former WWE superstar, did have some involvement with G.I. Joe in the 80s. They made, I believe, the animated series with them and the toys. So the fact that they made a Sergeant Slaughter for the Retro Toys lineup is very awesome. I like the mold much better than what they did for the WWE lineup with them. And then last but not least, we have ourselves the TMNT Power Rangers crossover pops, and these are wicked. We had the ones for SDCC and we had the Shredder from FunCon, but I like these ones better than all of those, mainly because I like how they both have different facial expressions, because I believe both the Donnie and the Leo have the same exact facial expression. And I do like the posings involved. And I can say Mikey because the box actually says Mikey and not Michelangelo, which is pretty cool. These are really awesome pops. I really enjoy these kind of mashups instead of obviously what we had just talked about with the Vecna 2 pack. As terms to least favorite and favorites, I'm going to have to go for my least favorite, the Pizza Rat, only because of the fact that I can tell the pizza slice he's holding is Hawaiian, and I strongly dislike pineapples on pizza. And I'm going to have to say for my favorite for this selection, I got to go Sergeant Slaughter.
As DK said, yeah, this is definitely right up my realm. Awesome. There's a lot of really cool pops here. So starting off with the Polly Pigeon and the Pizza Rat, these aren't terrible. I mean, I'm starting to like them more and more as we see them more, which is weird because normally it would be the other way around. But I think that these are pretty cool. And yes, that Polly Pigeon does have very close to New York Rangers colorway. So good job to DK for kind of predicting that. And the Pizza Rat isn't bad. I don't mind it. Yeah, maybe it is a Hawaiian pizza, but I don't see anything wrong with putting pineapple on your pizza. Honestly, that Pizza Rat, I like the colorway. I like the brown. I like how the pink really shows up with the feet, the inside of the ears, and the tail. I do enjoy this. This is probably my favorite Polly Pigeon and Pizza Rat that we've seen so far. Then we have the Polaroid land camera, and this pop overall looks really, really great. I like this. I like how you have the different color eyes. And normally, I don't like when you take an inanimate object that's not a character of any means and throw the arms and the legs and the eyes on it. But I think this is cool. And I think Polaroid is deserving. I think that this is better than a lot of the different weirder ones that we got. And then we have the Rubik's Cube. And this is pretty similar to the Polaroid camera, where you have a inanimate object and then you throw the arms, the legs, and the eyes and the mouth on it. And now it's a Funko Pop. And I'm not mad with this one. Normally I am, but I love me some retro toys. I think that Rubik's Cube is arguably one of the most iconic retro toys of all time. So it makes sense. I love how they used all of the colors that are represented on a Rubik's Cube to do the shoes, the legs, and the arms. The one thing that I'm not huge on is that they threw a mouth on it, where most Funko Pops don't have a mouth. Then we have the Kaboom cereal clown, and this is sweet. Obviously, we saw that Funko soda, and that was really cool. And now we finally have a pop. So this is going to be entering my collection with my ad icons. I mean, most ad icons usually do make the cut. They're the bouncer at the door to my collection of ad icons. He'll let you in pretty much no matter what. So Kaboom cereal, yeah, this is cool. There's a lot of detail going on with it, and it looks great. Then we have Sergeant Slaughter for the G.I. Joe retro toys, and this is sweet. I mean, this is awesome. Sergeant Slaughter has been in G.I. Joe, like DK had discussed about. So this is cool. And actually, recently I was thinking that I needed to add a G.I. Joe pop into my retro toys collection. I'm not going to collect all of them because that just seems unrealistic. But I think this is going to be that one G.I. Joe pop that I do have, because I want at least one. And I'm a huge fan of wrestling, pretty big fan of G.I. Joe. So this should be that one pop. And then lastly, we have the two other turtles for the Power Rangers and TMNT mashup. And these are phenomenal. I mean, I'm so in love with this wave of mashup figures, I guess. And I hope we do see other things like this, whether it be with retro toys or a couple other licensors that I at least like to collect. And these are great. I'll start off with Mikey. I think it's awesome that they put Mikey on it instead of Michelangelo. And I think it's deserving. I mean, you got to see it say Mikey at one point. So why not now, especially when it's kind of a more of a niche, not exactly just TMNT lineup. A perfect time to use that word. And he's the Yellow Ranger. He's Trini, which is awesome. I think that that's perfect. It's the closest color that matches him. And then we have Raphael, and he is, of course, the Red Ranger, which is perfect. That pop looks so great. Probably my favorite out of this set so far. So we are left with the Pink Ranger. So whether we see Casey Jones or we see Splinter or we see April O'Neil. I think that April O'Neil would have worked for the Yellow Ranger because in the original show and with the toy series, she did wear that yellow like suit that she would wear. So I think that she should have been the Yellow Ranger, but I think that she will probably be the Pink Ranger if they do decide to make a couple more pops for this series of Power Rangers and TMNT. So my least favorite out of this section is actually hard because I really do enjoy all of these pops, but I have to say my least favorite is going to be Pizza Rat. And my favorite, I gotta go with Raphael.
All right, so the next set that we're going to be looking at is titled Animation and Anime, although it could have been just animation because it does say pop animation for the lineups, even with anime. So kicking off, we have ourselves Yosemite Sam in the Black Knight attire from Looney Tunes, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. Swamp Fire from Ben 10 Alien Force, which is going to be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. Gloomy, both a normal one and a flocked version, which are both going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US only. A 6-inch 5-headed dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. Itadori with glasses from Jujutsu Kaisen, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. Karu and Hikaru 2-pack from Oron High School Host Club, which is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. From Dragon Ball Super, we have two versions of Ultra Instinct Goku. One is Sign, which is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. And Kamehameha, which is going to be shared with Chalice Collectibles in the US only. Then from Dragon Ball Z, we have ourselves Second Form Cell, which is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. And last but not least for the section, we have ourselves a Pop Rides of Luffy with Going Merry from One Piece, which is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. So kicking off with Yosemite Sam, this is a pretty cool looking pop. It is technically, I guess you can say, well, it is the first Yosemite Sam pop. And although I feel people might want a regular version, this is your best bet because the regular version will be coming out with the upcoming Looney Tunes NFT drop. So highly doubt that a lot of people are going to want to go and fork out hundreds of dollars possibly to get that regular one from the NFT drop. But overall, it's still pretty cool, especially because it's a character we have not gotten from the Looney Tunes lineup, unlike, let's say, like another Bugs Bunny. It could have happened for this. Swamp Fire from Ben 10. Now, although it would have been cool to see Ben in pop form like we have with the soda, it is cool that they didn't go with Ben because obviously I think Ben would have been would be very successful as a common pop. So it's cool they went with a character like Swamp Fire here. Gloomy the Naughty Grizzly, and this is a weird announcement because, I mean, these were pops. I believe there was more common and a Flock Chase version that went to Hot Topic, and I felt like only the Chase one sold, obviously, and then the rest were like shelf sitters. I don't know how these are going to be as terms to New York Comic Con, and it's still weird that you have just a regular one and then you have a flocked one at the exact same con. I just find that to be weird. We got the 5-headed dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is sweet. I mean, people are mentioning about, oh, this is copying Tiamat from Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, you're so lazy on your molds. Upon further research, believe it or not, 5-headed dragon was actually based off of Tiamat. So clearly, like, I mean, part of that is right, but not at the same time because, I mean, it's 5 different head sculpts for the head molds there for 5-headed dragon. It is the first Comic-Con exclusive Yu-Gi-Oh! Pop, or at least in my mind, because I don't consider Target Con as an actual con. And although this is really awesome, and I am going to be getting this so I can complete my Yu-Gi-Oh! Set, I felt they should have went with a pop like, let's say, a flocked Karibo or maybe even Summon Skull to be a Comic-Con exclusive, especially for New York Comic-Con. Instead of this, we got Itadori with glasses from Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is a little meh. We got the Itadori from San Diego Comic-Con with like the different sword or whatever it is. This one is okay though because it seems like it's more of like a comedic relief because he's holding a bag of popcorn and ice cream and he's wearing these funky glasses. So I feel like for like a casual fan, like let's say me who hasn't even seen Jujutsu Kaisen yet, I feel like this one is a little bit more appealing than seeing ones that are kind of like very similar to the ones we got announced for Funko Ween. We got the 2-pack from Oron Host Club or whatever it's called. This is meh. They seem like the exact same pops. Maybe they're twins. I don't exactly know, but I don't know. These just don't seem appealing, and I feel like these are going to be huge shelf sitters, especially being shared with Hot Topic. The Dragon Ball Super Pops, I don't know what to say about them. They're very detailed, but at the same time, we've gotten so many Goku pops already. And I feel like these could be sellers, but they could be shelf sitters, especially because Hot Topic is notorious for restocking a lot of stuff. And Chow's collectibles are notorious for having so many pops that they just end up selling them for less when they do their huge runs of mystery boxes. So it's like, do you get them now? Do you get them later? I don't exactly know. They are detailed though, and I do like the comments I've noticed on social media mentioning about, wow, we finally have a new Fortnite pop, considering that Goku was a recent skin on the item shop for a while there. So I really enjoyed seeing those comments and people acknowledging Fortnite for a little bit. And then we got second form Cell from obviously Dragon Ball Z. And this is a little bit cool because we don't get Cell pops that often. I can't exactly remember if first form Cell was that one we got for Emerald City Comic Con that was a glow in the dark pop, or it was part of like one of the waves. I can't exactly remember, but I do remember a first form Cell. Now we have a second form, but it does look kind of awkward. And then we got ourselves Luffy with Going Merry Pop Rides. This is sick. Like, I mean, we haven't gotten that many One Piece pops in a while, especially Comic-Con exclusives. This is crazy cool. And this is definitely going to be the seller of Hot Topic, possibly one of the top maybe 3 pops that will sell out right away at the con, I believe. Like, this is just crazy amazing. One of the best anime pops we have gotten all year round in 2022. I guess so far, since we still have a couple months left of 2022. For favorites and least favorites, my least favorite has to be that 2-pack from Oron Host Club, whatever it's called. And then my favorite has to be obviously the 5-headed dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Starting off with the Yosemite Sam, this is awesome. We finally have a Yosemite Sam pop besides the NFT one that DK had discussed about. And as he was talking, I was kind of thinking, yeah, I am that person who is going to wait the months to redeem and is also going to spend quite a bit of money on the packs because, as some of you guys probably know, Looney Tunes is one of my favorite things to collect when it comes to Funko, though I have a long ways to go to completing it, but I definitely will be getting this Yosemite Sam. This is awesome. And it could have been better, which is unfortunate. A lot of the comments on Instagram were talking about how, where's the dinosaur? He's riding on a dinosaur in this episode, so why didn't they add it? And yeah, I wish they would have, and I still kind of wish they would, but I don't expect to see it. I don't think we're going to see another version of this where he is riding on it and have it be a pop rides, because that would bring the value down of this one, and then fans would not be happy with that. But I don't know. I think it just should have been that way to begin with, but I'm not mad about just getting this pop. Then we have the Ben 10 pop, and this is awesome. Obviously, we got that announcement with the soda can, which is sweet. And now we're actually getting pops, and the first one being a con exclusive makes sense. I can't wait to see all of the different Ben 10 pops that we get. Whether I collect them or not, I think that they're so well deserved. Ben 10 is a show that so many people really do enjoy, especially people who are in our age bracket or at least grew up watching the show. I didn't watch it a ton, but I did like the show a lot. And obviously, it is a show that so many people still talk about to this day. And I believe there's still episodes airing and coming new with the different versions of Ben 10 that have been seen throughout the years. So this is a great pop, and I'm just super excited to see what else we get for this show. Then we have Gloomy the Naughty Grizzly, and yeah, this is very weird. A very weird announcement. I mean, like DK said, we've already had the common and the flocked, and now we have another common, I guess you could say, and a flocked version. I don't know why this is con exclusives. This should have just been maybe just another exclusive to Hot Topic and not have been a con exclusive, because that common one is just not going to sell. There's no way. Then we have the 5-headed dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is sweet. I mean, wow, so cool. I could see where a lot of people think it looks like Tiamat, and obviously there are some relations to it, but this pop is great. I mean, there's so much going on with it. Tiamat is an awesome pop. As I look behind me, I can see him up on my shelf, which is great because it's so cool. And I'm glad that we see another pop that's similar to it, especially with a franchise like Yu-Gi-Oh! So cool. I'm so happy about this. I need to add this to my collection before it goes up in price, because you bet your ass this is going up. I mean, all of the 6-inch Yu-Gi-Oh! Pops are getting to be at the price point where it's like, oh, God, I'm going to have to fork up some money, which I am going to have to do because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is my childhood in a nutshell. And this is so cool. But I do wish for a con pop we would see something like DK had discussed with the flocked Karibo, or a pop that I've been desperately wanting, like Summon Skull, as well as a pop that I've also been wanting, like Flaming Swordsman. I think those are perfect candidates. Then we have the Jujutsu Kaisen pop, and this is a decent looking pop. Makes sense for a con pop. It's a variant of a pop that we've already seen already, or a character we've already seen already. And like DK had said, it is kind of a more funnier pop, so it makes sense. It brings up the conversation when you're talking about con pops. Then we have the 2-pack for RN High School Host Club. And this is interesting. I'm pretty torn about this because it's a 2-pack similar to the Entertainment Earth exclusive Spider-Man 2-pack that we've seen, where it's essentially the exact same pop with the molding being flipped besides the different postings in the different arms, essentially. So I don't know. I could see this not selling well, but I could also see this selling pretty well. Then we have the Dragon Ball Super Pops, and these are okay. It's stuff like this, which is the exact reason why just last week I decided that I'm no longer going to be collecting Dragon Ball Pops, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but I just don't have the room to collect Dragon Ball. I'm going to just maybe purely collect Vegeta Pops because he's always been my favorite character ever since I've been a fan of Dragon Ball. These Pops do have a lot of detail. They do look really good. If I were continuing to collect Dragon Ball, I'd probably consider these, but at this moment, it's not going to happen. And then we have the Cell, which is awesome. I mean, I kind of do want to get this, though I just said I wasn't collecting Dragon Ball Pops, but this is because it's a character that doesn't get a ton of love in Funko Pop form, at least. And this might actually only be the second or third Cell Pop that we've seen. And then lastly, we have the One Piece Pop with Luffy on the Pop Rides. I forget what the boat itself is called because I haven't watched that much of One Piece. I've seen a few of the first episodes, but I need to get back into it because I do know it is such a great show. And this pop is phenomenal. I mean, wow, this looks awesome. I love seeing pop rides for Comic-Con pops because they're just, for some reason, a little bit better than the other pop rides that you see. And this one's great. You have Luffy, which we've seen a bunch of pops of Luffy before, but now we also have this boat, which has a ton of detail. You have the popified versions of not only the emblem on the flag, but as well as the goat head on the front of the boat. So this is great. This is going to sell very, very well, I can see, and this is going to go up in price very, very much. So my least favorite from this section, it has to be the common, non-flocked, gloomy pop. It's not going to sell well. And my favorite have to go with Yosemite Sam because that is a pop that 100% has to be in my collection. I can't leave this con without getting that pop.
Are you looking for great pop protectors? Then look no further than popbox.ca. They have a variety of 4-inch and 6-inch protectors in different quantities. Do you want to get 10 protectors, 20? You can get even up to 250 pop protectors over on popbox.ca. And also use our promo code of Funko Popcast for 10% off of your entire purchase of pop protectors. The code is going on until supplies last. So go get your pop protector needs now over on popbox.ca using our code of Funko Popcast to get 10% off.
And let me tell you guys, we're not just screwing around here. These are some great pop protectors. We own a multitude of these protectors. They are some of the best I've seen. Stop buying from EB Games. I'm not boycotting EB Games by any means, but their pop protectors are not as good. So again, use code of Funko Popcast for 10% off.
All right, so going on to the next section, which is DC and Marvel. First off, we have ourselves the Statue of Liberty from Spider-Man No Way Home, which is going to be shared with Amazon in both Canada and the US. Groot for the Disney Plus series of I Am Groot, which is going to be shared with Target in the US only. Nick Fury for the upcoming Secret Invasion movie or series, I can't exactly remember, but that's going to be Funko Shop in the US only. Red Superman for the DC Comics lineup, which is going to be shared with Amazon in both Canada and the US. A comic book version of Aquaman, which is going to be shared with Walgreens in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Star Sapphire from Green Lantern, which is going to be shared with Entertainment Earth in the US only. And last but not least, we have ourselves Emperor Joker from Batman, which is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. Kicking off with the Statue of Liberty pop, this is meh. And I mean, myself and a lot of people, we know that as terms of Spider-Man No Way Home, we want Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, the villains. That's what we're hyping about right now for this movie and not a Statue of Liberty that essentially should be a bigger size pop because it's basically based off of obviously the fight scene involving the three Spider-Mans and the villains. Then we got the Groot from the I Am Groot series. This is okay. I thoroughly enjoy the detail, but I do feel that some of the pops that were made, I think there was 2 pops made for the Marvel Collector's Core box for the I Am Groot series, were just a little bit better than this one. We got Nick Fury for the upcoming Secret Invasion movie, and this is okay. I mean, it's very simplistic with the posing, but I do like how we have Nick Fury without the eye patch and you see what's underneath the eye. I think that's really cool, and it's weird that Funko's already advertising for a Marvel, like, I guess, movie or series that's not happening until Q1 of 2023. Red Superman, this is pretty cool. I mean, we had the blue version that released for Festival of Fun last December, and now we have the red version. If you didn't get the blue version, I mean, I guess you can get the red version now, but if you already have the blue version, you might as well get the red version. I think it has to do something with the comics that makes sense to have both. Aquaman looks pretty decent. I like the posing involved, especially on the stand there, and how there's a comic book version of Aquaman made into pop form, because I feel like a lot of Aquaman pops made for the last little bit have been involved with any of the DC Extended Universe movies, like, of course, the self-titled Aquaman movie or any of the Justice League movies that have been made. Star Sapphire, this is really cool in detail. I like the purpley, pinkish, magenta color involved, and especially what's going on with the base there, where you kind of have like that energy power in a swirl. And then we got Emperor Joker. This is a wicked looking pop. I love the detail involved with the kind of robe. He's got the crown. Obviously, a Joker pop would be weird if it didn't have a mouth. He has the scepter there, which has the popified head of Harley Quinn. I think it's a pretty sweet pop, and I think it's going to be one of those pops alongside the One Piece pop rides that's going to sell very well, probably will sell out when you walk into Hot Topic on, I believe it would be October 7th, I think the day is when everything is getting released to the shared retailers. So my least favorite and favorite, I'm going to have to go with, obviously, the Statue of Liberty is my least favorite. I'm going to have to go with Emperor Joker as my favorite. Detail's great.
Okay, Marvel and DC, which are highly anticipated categories for con pops, especially when it comes to New York Comic Con. So let's talk about them. We have the Statue of Liberty from Spider-Man No Way Home, and what a letdown. I mean, Funko gave us some hints or spoilers of some No Way Home pops that we will be seeing with the 3-pack as well as the Doc Ock, but I feel like there's still so much that people want. There's so many awesome characters in that movie, and we get the Statue of Liberty. Not great. I mean, it's not a bad pop at all. I like the pop itself, but why are we getting stuff like this before we get all these awesome villains as well as heroes that we've seen in that movie in the pop forms that we want to see? It just doesn't make any sense. Then we have the Groot from I Am Groot, and this is pretty cool. It is one of those cutesy pops, I guess you could say. We have the Nick Fury from the Secret Invasion, and this is pretty cool. I like this. DK summed it up pretty well. You get to see under the eye patch, but it is weird that we are seeing a pop for a series that won't be out for quite some time, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because I think it does give some hype. I think this pop's good, and it's something different that we really haven't seen in the Marvel universe in terms of Funko Pops. And then we have the red Superman, which is interesting. I like this better than the blue one. I don't know what it is because blue is one of my more favorite colors, but this red one it gives me some type of vibe that I really like for Superman. We have Aquaman. This is a pretty cool pop. I like the pose. I think this is an awesome version of Aquaman, but it's just weird to be a con pop. I don't think it should have been. I think that it could have easily just been a common pop. And then we have Star Sapphire, I believe her name is, and this is a sweet looking pop. I love the pose. I love the way the pop looks. The different variants of pinks, I guess, look really, really great. This pop really stands out, and it'll be a good pop. I think that there will be a bit of shelf sitters with this, but I think that in time, this will be a pop that does get some value. Then we have the King Joker, and this is just wild. I mean, and I guess that could be a Joker / playing card pun, I suppose. But this thing is awesome. There's so much detail, especially with the Harley Quinn popified head at the end of the scepter or cane. So cool. There's so much detail going on with it, and the facial expression is amazing. So my least favorite out of the DC and Marvel section, it has to be the Statue of Liberty for Spider-Man No Way Home. And my favorite from Marvel and DC has to be the King Joker.
All right, so the next section we're going to look at is Disney and Pixar. So Kicking off that section, we have Clarabelle Cow, which is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Professor Owl, which is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Going more towards Pixar, we have Kit with Doggy, Pop and Buddy as a part of the Pixar Shorts Kit Bowl, which is going to be shared with Walmart in both Canada and the US. Merida with Bow and Arrow from Pixar Brave, which is going to be shared with Entertainment Earth in the US. Roger Rabbit with Kisses from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. We have Smee with Skull Rock Pop Town from Peter Pan, which is going to be shared with Box Lunch in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And last but not least, for this Disney section, we have ourselves a Glitter Zero, which will be part of a Pop and Backpack bundle, which will be shared with the Funko Shop and is limited to 3,000 pieces only. Kicking off with Clarabelle Cow, and I guess I might as well talk about Professor Owl at the same time because of my points I'm going to mention. It's cool to have these pops, especially because we just recently had the Funko Soda figures within the last year or so, and now they are in pop form, which is really cool. I think for some reason Professor Owl might sell a little more than Clarabelle Cow. We have Kit with Doggy, and this is really cool. I like the idea that Funko is doing the Pixar shorts now as pops because I feel like a lot of the shorts they have done have been really, really cool, especially with this one, which I thought was one of the older ones, but it's actually fairly new. It was made in 2019, and I recently watched it on Disney Plus, and man, the story behind it is so emotional. Pixar is really good at just grabbing your heartstrings, especially with the story behind Kit Bull. And I think the fact they made it as a Pop and Buddy is really cool. The detail involving the scars involved with the pit bull, and especially showing the facial expression on both of the characters without having a mouth on each of the characters. I think that they did an excellent job with these. Then we got ourselves Merida from Brave, and I do enjoy this one very much compared to the Disney Ultimate Princess Gold dress version. I like the blue dress, and it's kind of cool that they're making a Brave pop, but I don't know how many they really can pull off because, at least in my opinion, I find that essentially Brave wasn't one of the better Pixar movies, at least in my opinion. We got Roger Rabbit with Kisses, and this one's really cool, especially because I believe that a lot of people would have wanted to obtain the Funko Soda figure, the chase version, where it was essentially Roger Rabbit, and he's got the kisses all over the face there. Then we got ourselves Smee with Skull Rock Pop Town, and this is pretty sweet, especially because you got a town, and then Smee is in his boat, so it kind of gives off the vibe of like a pop rides with the town at the same time. So I think this will actually be a pretty decent seller. And last but not least, we have the Pop and Bag bundle here, 3,000 pieces. Makes sense because of the fact that every single Pop and Bag bundle that has been made thus far with Funko and Loungefly has been 3,000 pieces, especially with the Funko Shop. I'm not entirely a fan of the pop, but I do get why they did it the way they did. Zero is a ghost, and essentially the glitter effect kind of gives off that shiny speckle that you do see in the movie. I think what makes up for it is the bag, though, because the front's really cool with Jack Skellington Zero in the front of the house, and I believe on the back of the bag, because originally when I seen a photo of the bag, it was a different design. So I think on the back there's actually Zero's doghouse, and you can actually have an opening to where you can have like the Funko Pop, I guess, be shown off there. So I think that's really cool when they do that with the Loungefly bags. And the bag also glows in the dark, which I don't know what glows on it yet, but overall I think it'll look pretty nice. Going to my favorites and least favorites, I'm going to have to go with the Zero Glitter Pop as my least favorite, just for the pop itself. The bag is cool, but it's just the pop itself that's just a little boring. And my favorite for this section has to be the Kit with Doggy.
Starting off with Clarabelle Cow, this is a pretty cool pop. We did see the soda, and now we have her in pop form. And this is cool because we don't normally see a ton of different characters for the like mainstay, I guess that'd be the best way to put it, Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, Donald, Pluto, those type of characters. So it's awesome to see Clarabelle Cow in Funko Pop form, and I think they did a really good job, and I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen some different variants down the road. Then we have Professor Owl, and yeah, I could probably see this one maybe selling a little bit better because it is kind of the nicer pop. And this, again, is one of those pops that we're seeing that we just saw in Funko Soda form. So it's cool to see it now in Funko Pop form. Then we have the Kit Bull Poppin' Buddy, and this is awesome. Something I wouldn't have expected. I really do enjoy the Pixar shorts pops that we've seen. I think that it's a great idea. Then we have the Brave Pop, and this isn't really doing it for me. I mean, Brave is a movie that came out years ago at this point, and I think we've seen a decent amount of pops, at least enough pops, that we don't need a con pop where just the dress is the difference. Next, we have Roger Rabbit with the kisses, and I really enjoy this pop. Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, is one of my more favorite Disney movies, and this is great. It is very similar to the Chase version of the Funko Soda, which I think is a good thing because that's a pop that I wanted to see, and now we do have it here with the New York Comic Con pops. Then we have Smee with Skull Island, and this is sweet. I mean, like DK said, you have Smee with the boat as well as the pop town itself. So it really is like a pop ride, but it also is a pop town. And that's great. I think that maybe the skull itself should have been bigger, but who knows? It might be a little bit bigger when it actually comes to seeing it in person because it just feels a little small, but that might be just because you have a whole pop rides right beside it. So overall, that's awesome. And I really do enjoy it. And then lastly, for Disney and Pixar, we have the Zero glitter with the pop and bag bundle. And I don't mind this. I actually do enjoy the Zero. I saw a photo, I forget who posted it on Instagram, but an actual photo of the pop, and it looked pretty cool. I actually enjoyed how the glitter looked. And DK said it best. I mean, he is a ghost, so seeing him in this version for pop form where it's kind of translucent, but you also have the glitter really does give those ghost vibes. And overall, the bag's really awesome as well, and being glow in the dark is pretty cool. I think that it'll probably just be the moon and maybe the lights in the building itself, and maybe the jack-o'-lanterns that light up. But overall, these popping bags are awesome, and being 3,000 pieces just makes so much sense. I really do enjoy that. So my favorite from the Disney and Pixar's has to be the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and my least favorite, it has to be the Merida from Brave.
All right, so now we are moving on to the final selection of NYCC exclusive pops, which is television, which let's kick off the first set. We have ourselves new pops from The Simpsons of Jimbo and Kearney, which Jimbo is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US only, and Kearney is going to be shared with FYE in the US and Sunrise Records here in Canada. Mona Lisa Saperstein from Parks and Recreation, which is going to be shared with Target in the US only. Halloween version of Kelly Kapoor from The Office, which is going to be shared with Walmart in the US and in Canada. Uhtred from The Last Kingdom, which is going to be shared with Amazon in both Canada and the US. Coach Beard from Ted Lasso, which is going to be shared with Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. And last but certainly not least, Steve with the handy dandy notebook from Blue's Clues, which is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. So kicking off with the Simpsons pops, always cool to see some new Simpsons pops, especially of new characters that have not been made previously. I wish it was more of a 2-pack instead of just 2 singular pops and you have to go to 2 different retailers to get them. Now moving on to Mona Lisa Saperstein from Parks and Recreation. This is a pretty okay looking pop. At first, I didn't know about this character, or at least I didn't recognize it because it's been so long since I've seen Parks and Recreation. I've only seen it once through. But then upon further research, I didn't even realize this is the sister of Jean-Ralphio, which is one of the more popular, I guess, not main characters, but more supporting characters of Parks and Recreation. And I think it's cool that finally they made a pop of her, especially it goes hand in hand with that Jean-Ralphio, even though that Jean-Ralphio is in a 2-pack. Kelly Kapoor from The Office in her Halloween outfit. Really cool that we got an Office pop because obviously I'm going to be getting it, trying to get every single pop, which I think I'm only 9 pops behind from completing the set. However, this didn't really excite me all that much because Kelly isn't one of those characters that I get too excited about, and especially involving this episode where I believe we had already gotten the Dwight Scranton Strangler. And we could have gotten different costumes even from that very episode for one of the Halloween episodes that I think would have been much better, especially like a Jim and Pam Popeye and Olive Oil 2-pack we could have gotten that looked really cool. I think one of the pops that we definitely should have gotten, and it would have been a brand new character, is Gabe when he's dressed up as Lady Gaga. I think that would have been amazing, and it's something people would have wanted, although it is really detailed with this outfit. I can't exactly remember if this is supposed to be like Willy Wonka based or not, but overall, it is detailed. It's just, it didn't really get me excited. It's one of those office pops that I'm kind of like not excited to add to my collection, but I have to get because I'm trying to get a 100% complete set. But overall, it's still cool to see an Office exclusive considering I didn't even think we are going to get any Comic-Con exclusives this year. We have Uhtred from The Last Kingdom, and this is a little meh. And I mean, The Last Kingdom, I believe from research, just ended on Netflix in March. And I mean, they're just making pops now, which I guess is cool, but it's a little meh because it seems like this is like a simplistic mold to what I feel like, judging by what people have mentioned about The Last Kingdom, I feel like there's going to be better pops made if they continue this lineup. And especially, I don't see this selling well because it's being shared with Amazon, and that not too often do Amazon pops actually sell out. If anything, they will be site sitters, and that you would buy them for a much cheaper price down the line, whether it's a couple months down the line or especially when it's Amazon Prime Day. Next up, we have Coach Beard from Ted Lasso, and this is a much better Ted Lasso pop, in my opinion, than what we had gotten from SDCC. The one from SDCC seemed very plain and simplistic, very detailed with the hula hoop. It makes me intrigued to see what exactly is happening in this scene, and it makes me want to go and watch this series because I have not heard nothing but great things about this. And I mean, what a perfect way to end off not only the selection of pops, but pretty much the podcast, because we have ourselves Steve with the handy dandy notebook from Blue's Clues. This is awesome. I mean, we all wanted a Steve pop for Blue's Clues ever since the blue pop was announced, whether it's the common or the flocked Hot Topic exclusive. And I mean, if you have blue already, you gotta get Steve with the handy dandy notebook. This is great. It's simplistic, but it's got all the details that you need. This will be like the top seller of New York Comic Con, guaranteed. My favorite and least favorites. My least favorite, I'm going to go with Uhtred. And then my favorite, I got to go with Steve with the handy dandy notebook.
All right, now we have the last selection of pops with TV, starting off with Jimbo and Kearney from The Simpsons, and I am super, super pumped about this. These are some pops that I have mentioned on the pod and in other videos on the channel previously that I wanted to see, and now we have them, which is great. I'm super pumped about them. It sucks that they are going to do different shared retailers, but that's fine. I'll still get my hands on them. Then we have the Parks and Rec pop, and this is okay. Not one of my favorite pops, but it's not bad. It makes sense that we've seen a lot of different Parks and Recs pops be con pops or exclusive to different places. So if they keep up with that trend, I think it's good. It's a set that people can collect, which is not super easy to obtain, but not very difficult at the same time. So that makes collecting Parks and Rec very fun. Then we have the Kelly Kapoor inner costume for The Office, and this is pretty cool. DK said it well. Kelly's not one of those characters that makes you super excited when you see a new Funko Pop for. So I think that there could have been different characters that got a Funko Pop for New York Comic Con, especially with the different Halloween costumes. But at the same time, it's really cool that we are seeing another Office Pop, and I hope that they keep pumping out Office pops, at least at cons, because sometimes when those waves come out, it just gets ridiculous to collect every single one, especially if you are going for a 100% complete collection like DK is. Then we have the pop from The Last Kingdom, and this isn't a bad looking pop, but I know nothing about the show. I don't even think I've ever heard of it, to be honest. So I don't really have an opinion on it besides saying that it is a decent looking pop. And then we have the new Ted Lasso pop, and this is pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty detailed. I like the detail on it, especially with the hula hoop and the way that the pants look, but I don't know a ton about Ted Lasso besides the fact that they did win a bunch of awards for being such a great show. So maybe I do have to check it out, and by the time I do check it out, maybe this is a pop that I will have to have in my collection. And then lastly, we have Steve from Blue's Clues with the handy dandy notebook, and this is so awesome. I'm so happy that we got this. We got the common blue as well as the flocked blue, and now we finally have Steve to go along with it. I do hope that we continue to get other pops from Blue's Clues because there's so much to do. I mean, you could do salt, pepper, and paprika in a 3-pack. You can do magenta. You can have the other hosts of the show, I guess you can say. There's so much that can be done. This is a great pop, and I'm glad that they added the handy dandy notebook as well as the crayon in his hand that he is using. So for television, my least favorite, I have to go with the pop from The Last Kingdom. And my favorite, I'm going to go with Steve just because I don't want to pick between Jimbo and Kearney, though I do love both of those pops. but Steve just seems like such an easy pick. It's such a great pop, and honestly, probably one of the better pops from this con.
Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this week's podcast. If you enjoyed this week's edition of a Funko Popcast, make sure you smash that like button, comment in the comment section below, and let us know what you are planning to pick up for New York Comic Con 2022. Press the subscribe button for more content like this podcast and any other videos we do on this channel in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. And if you guys haven't yet, follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at a Funko Popcast. It'll be listed in the description below. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this week's podcast, and we hope to see you guys next week for our next fandom-related podcast, more specifically titled Battle Royale, the Fortnite podcast. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
This is Natalia. She is my sister. Peace in, peace out.